people of Kansas City, you have shown patriotism. You have shown patriotism, really. Yeah, you have shown the love of your country in your heart. The same way our chairman, Dr. Machar, has also put the country in his heart. At this time, I would like to appreciate everybody who has worked together with the state leader to put this occasion to look like how it is. Thank you very much. And I would also want to recognize the following offices. Office of the Youth. I would also want to recognize Office of Women, that is Nyagile, however she has left. And I also want to recognize the chapter leaders. Most of them have left. We are left with two here. We have Timothy Gwanda, Minnesota, and South Dakota, that is Chora Chora. And I also want to recognize with honor the following honorables who have just been mentioned. And thank you very much. Welcome all. At this point, I would also want to recognize our representative, Riek Machar, to come and give you guys a word. And on behalf of my office, I would also want you guys to know my deputy, Gadwak, who has always stood. He has always stood on my right and taller than me also at the same time. Right. So, Red, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Sabata Ramba. His Excellency, the Chairman and Commander-in-Chief of the SPLM, Dr. Riek Machar, His Excellency General Alfred Ladu Gore, the Deputy Commander-in-Chief, Comrade Taban Dengash, the Chairperson for the Peace and Reconciliation, and the Chief Negotiator for our peace agreement, Comrade Dio Mato, the Chairman for Road and Transport, Comrade Ezekiel Olgarkos, the Chairperson for Foreign Relations, Madame Angeline Tay, and all the protocol observed. I would like to thank the people of greater city of Missouri, Kansas City, for the good welcoming and organizing this very wonderful gathering. We are here today very happy, and we want to tell you, we know you have done a lot yesterday, and because of the time and a lot of meeting that took place behind when you left Omaha, Nebraska, we didn't make it on time, and today we are here with you. The chairman canceled a very important meeting in Washington, D.C. that was supposed to take place today because he wants to see the people of Kansas City. This is a very great question. The SPLM, SPLA stand for democracy, stand for change. We want to do reform in our country. It's not about one person. We all need to stand together behind our leadership. We know all of us that Riek has a vision to change the country. It started from the independence of South Sudan. He was the first person who spoke, stood tall to call for the self-determination of South Sudan. A lot of people did misunderstand it, and they call him name. But a man was patient. He did not give up. Even though most of the people, many of South Sudanese in the first place, begin to misunderstand because our politics, politics in South Sudan is almost based on tribe, and people mostly listen to their tribal leaders. But Dr. Riek stood the test of the time. And now we are in the stage of realizing a free and democratic Republic of South Sudan. I know there may be names that come up because I have learned something from the chairman and that visit talking about the name of South Sudan. For the first time, I never knew that, it never came into my mind that we were called South Sudan. It's just a direction. I went to school, but it never crossed my mind. But I was really convinced to what he said, that we cannot call ourselves with a direction. And if there are few people who are going to debate this South Sudan, which will be given a name, I will be among them. And I would suggest that if we go for people, Republic of Sudan, as he suggests, that would be a wonderful name, because we don't want to leave the name of Sudan. We need to build up SPLM. The chairman is calling us to reconcile and start the process of reconciliation among our community. And you know, here in the US, I have been living for almost 2 years in US, and I've seen, and everywhere I go, I tell people that our people are really divided. Our community is very fragmented, and mostly it happens in the diaspora, because the diaspora, they are the people who are well informed about the media, the social media, the internet, and all this. So they write some stuff. And now with the message of chairman calling all of us to cease all the hostility on the media, and declare also the media warriors, declare the ceasefire on the media and start calling for the peace and the unity of South Sudan. I'm not going to go further, because I know it's our chairman who have things to tell us. And we know we reverse everything, because we want the chairman to speak to us, and he will later on give chance to some of his delegation who want to come in and say something. So with this, please, may you allow me to welcome His Excellency, the first Vice President designate and the Chairman and Commander-in-Chief of the SPLM, Dr. Riek Machar, to come and give you a greeting.
Greetings to all of you. Yesterday we were supposed to arrive here at around 1. We failed to do that because there was a very long prayers which was held in Nebraska. And I found that it was a chance for me also to pass the same messages which I want to pass to you today. So I'm sorry for those who waited for long. I had even gave instructions. If it is because every time we finished, some people would want to meet General Alfred, who would mostly be authority. So he said, if we can start meetings of this kind to make people busy before I arrived. But I was told this was refused. And I had wished now, if I was informed earlier, you say, you go ahead with the main meeting. I'll come and conclude it. I could have found you meeting, like in Malish. It has been my interest to speak in Kansas, not only to the supporters of SPLM, SPLA, bracket Iowa. I wanted to speak to all. So I was told you were 200 in the hall. Because this is the time for us to come together, talk, discuss issues, and particularly that the peace agreement has been signed. First Vice President, Vice President Mwani had come to you, and I believe you, if you had attended that meeting, he had talked about peace. I believe so, because there's nothing in the foreheads of people now except peace. I expected it would be peace. So I'm going to talk about peace. Because what brought me to US, the invitation which was sent by Ban Ki-moon, and we said this is a chance for us. So we came in. And instead of me coming with 3 people, we came in because we want to talk about peace. And Ban Ki-moon wanted us to talk about peace, and we have finished that meeting. We have told him and the rest of the leaders of the difficulties, the challenges in peace, in the implementation of the peace agreement. So we have told them this. And in brief, it is in security areas, we still have challenges. because the workshop that was supposed to resolve some of these issues did not resolve them. So we hope there will be another meeting to resolve this. Secondly, we were concerned about the deployment of troops, particularly foreign troops, withdrawal of foreign troops towards Uganda. The deadline is the 10th. Today is the 5th. So on the 10th, all the Ugandan troops will be out. The other difficulty is on the Sudanese rebels. The government has not taken responsibility to tell them to leave. But in the security arrangements, we agreed that we will all assist so that they can leave. And if they don't want to leave, they hand in over their guns, and then they are repatriated. But I think they will take the choice of leaving peacefully, going back to their country. And hopefully, talking with Bashir to get a peace agreement. There, I know there is a forum which is led by President Mbeki to resolve the issue in the north, or in the current Republic of Sudan. So these are some of the security challenges that we had. And we told the leaders of the world. We added the fact that President Salva has reservations. It keeps people guessing. Is there going to be peace? If President Salva has reservations, what will be the peace? Because if you sign a contract, some of you might have signed contracts. You don't sign a contract and then you say I have reservation. The contract will be dead. So we raised that because President Salva talked by video and repeated that he has reservations. So the international community is asking, if he has reservations, what is the commitment to implementation of the peace? So these are some of the security difficulties, or political and security arrangement difficulties or challenges. There are other challenges. For example, we have to canton assembled forces. You canton them in specific areas. The committees have agreed. But then when you put armed people in the specific areas, they will need food. First of all, they will need shelter, at least a tent. They will need food. They will need medicine, drugs, water, so that you can confine them, because assembling and cantonment means confining them in specific locations. This is a difficulty that needs money, needs support, so that tomorrow we don't blame them for roaming the villages. The other aspect is what we are now doing. Another challenge. How do we sustain the mobilization for creating awareness about the peace? There are difficulties in it, because we need to reach people on the ground in South Sudan so that they understand that peace has been signed, peace is being implemented. The regime in Juba has TV and radios. We in the liberation areas, we don't have. How do we reach people? You've got to go to them physically. You go physically to them, talk to them like we have now come to you in Kansas. And as I said, to me, it is not members of IO that I want to speak to alone. I want others. I was told Kurdi is here, Bullman is here. I said, let them come and listen to me. Because then they will pass the right message, because I am the one speaking, not anybody else. So passing the message of peace, dissemination for it, is very expensive. And since the war was bitter, it is good that people understand it and they see the seriousness of the two parties. When Comrade Wana came here, you might have seen his seriousness. You would also come and see my seriousness about the implementation. And even with Comrade the same. So it is a challenge. It is a challenge. Dissemination. Other challenges we resolve with the international community. But the main aspect, main issue is that we want to implement the peace agreement. Even if there are reservations, we want to implement it. Even if there is continual violation of the ceasefire, we should make people aware of this peace agreement. Well, some may ask us, why do you, what is in that peace agreement that you like? First, we think it is, even if it did not meet our minimal program, it has met the bottom minimum, not comfortable, but it is something to work with, that we can bring about peace. So we say, since we didn't start the war, we did not start the war, somebody might have told you that we made a coup. We didn't make a coup. Nobody who is in a Jalabiya wants to make a coup. It is somebody who put a khaki that makes a coup. When you are ready for a coup, your gun will be ready, your military fatigue will be ready. So basically there had been no coup. There were differences, and then the president decided to get rid of some of us. But we say we overcome it, let's overcome it. We are alive, although many people have died. But with this, other processes will take place, which I will talk of. So we think the peace agreement, as long as it brings in a new system of governance, and the system of governance which this peace agreement is bringing in is a federal system. Anybody who has been dreaming since 1947, the leaders of 1947 in Juba called for a federal system. If Khartoum had implemented it, maybe it would not be two Sudans now. But because they refused it, we developed the demand of people of South Sudan to self-determination. And finally, we became independent. So who is going to lick his wounds? It's the North that is licking his wounds now, not us, because they refuse our offer. So the country split. Okay, now that we are independent, should we not apply the system which we have been advocating or advocated by our people since 1947? We should. In South Sudan, it was not meant just between South Sudan and the North. It was also meant for us, ourselves, because what are we? We are a diverse nation. We have nationalities, we have tribes, we have different languages, we have different cultures, we have different religions in South Sudan. And if you don't put this diversity into consideration, the country breaks. This country is diverse. You know, you might see them, or you think they're all white. But those who founded it saw that there are diversities in it, and therefore they implemented a federal system. That is strong. They are one country. They're a big continent. There are states. So likewise we can have states. We can have a federal system. We advocate a presidential federal system. See? This is in the agreement. You see it from chapter 1 to chapter 2 to chapter 3, 4, 5. You'll find references to federalism. We had wanted the states to be identified when we were having discussions. The regime in Cuba didn't want. And 3 days ago, they surprised us with a list. And a year, last December, in a conference, we advocated 21 states based on the British districts. So the British districts, they have borders. The borders are delineated. The borders are demarcated. They are on the map. So we said, let's move to 21 states. 10 states are too big. But when you move to 21 states, and those borders are clear, the whole district of Gogrial has its borders. Nobody, the Tony is not going to quarrel with it, or Unity is not going to quarrel with it, or Northern Bahra Gizal, they will not have questions on the borders with Gogrial because they are written, they are demarcated on the map. So we say, we go to those 21 districts. 3 days ago, President Selma, I think after we went in and reconsidered our position, he turned up with 28. When you look at the 28, they are problematic. Because some of them, for example, let's take Northern Bahra Gizal, divided into two states, and two of the counties are moved next to Raja. This is going to be a problem. Would that be acceptable? Just as an example, you come to the Shilluk Kingdom. Part of it is next to the eastern part. How are the Shilluk going to react when we know the history? The President and I were in Malakal on the 1st of January 2009. There was fighting just because somebody said, I will be in the front of the parade. The other one says, no, I will be in front of the parade. Suddenly there was fighting in the stadium. And we were all there with President Bashir. And we went to ask, why? They said, they should have wanted to be in the front of the parade. And the Denka Padang wanted to be in the front of the parade. Okay, what was the normal? That used to be the Shuluk. Now when you create a state and you annex Malakal and part of the state to the eastern bank, this is a recipe for a problem. But if we had discussed these during the discussions, during the negotiations, maybe our logic for 21 states would hold. When we had problems with the North during the CPA, during the negotiations, all of us were there. How did we resolve it? Borders. We say, okay, borders, we go back 1956. 1st of January 1956. Why? Because we know the British did that. The British were colonial power. They didn't care who was in this place. They made the borders, they marked them on the map and on the ground. Whether it is the provinces or it is the district, they did. Our people like quarreling over things that sometimes may not be material, but borders are material, serious matters. So, but my topic is federalism. Even with the statement made by President Salva 3 days ago, is a reflection that we all want federalism. So federalism is important. It resolves problems between us. See? Now, so it's one reason why we said, oh, this agreement is good, we can live with it. Second, the set of reforms in the agreement, reforms in the economy, reforms in governance, reforms in the judiciary, reforms in the security. These are very important. You will create a new army, a new national security, a new police. You will also put into consideration that you are moving to a federal system. What should security look like in a federal system? What should the police look like in a federal system? All these are contained in the agreement. So and also the economy itself, reforming it under the new system. So we said, okay, this is good, we can live with it, even if it has not done all that we wanted. Then the chapter on accountability, transitional justice and accountability, national reconciliation and healing, and then compensation and reparation. These are there. In it, somebody who have committed crimes, particularly crimes against humanity, war crimes, genocide, ethnic cleansing, those people must face the law so that impunity is wiped out. Some people act once in the tamanja, in the pistol, and you are in uniform, you now begin to forget that you are accountable to the very citizens that you mistreat. And that is why it was very easy for genocide to be committed in Juba. Because the people are used to impunity. We want to get away from this. And therefore, this chapter is important for us. A hybrid court will be formed that will handle these issues. The hybrid court will be headed by foreigners, Africans in particular. That is a lesson. Because you don't wake up in the night, tomorrow morning you kill your people, like what happened in Juba.
Viva SPLM!
Viva!
SPLM, viva! SPLM!
Viva! So that chapter is there for those who lost kings, who lost relatives, and who lost also property. You will find it difficult to carry them on board to accept the peace agreement unless you have a provision that justice shall prevail, that those who committed crimes will be brought to book. So in the agreement it is there. Now, compensation. A lot of property have been destroyed, lives have been lost, there's need for compensation in it. This is in the agreement. It is tedious, it is difficult, but it will have to be done so that we respect property. You just knock a house, just because probably you don't like its owner. So we have to learn from this. We have to learn from it. So there is compensation. Now the most difficult, which is also in the agreement, is national reconciliation and healing. National reconciliation and healing. I have talked about the destruction, loss of lives. But will our people live separately in one country? Will they live separately? President Salva has created 28 states. If you carve them out by tribe, like what we see in some, what does it mean? I don't have to have a house in Wara. I don't have to migrate to capital Turale. Then I have to do business in Kwajo. Or what does it mean? Federalism does not mean isolating people by tribes. It's not the meaning. It is creating a system where you rule yourself. It is even transitional. That all of us are transitional. If all our people become urbanized, you will not recognize them. The marks won't be there. The language, one language will predominate, like now Juba Arabic is being learned by most. Your neighbor is not going to be your tribesman or your sectionman or your clan person in town. This is urbanization. Like here, maybe Missouri was established by a group of some Europeans and mixed with some Indians. They were joined with others where they saw opportunities. Now you cannot tell who is who. This is going to happen to us. So federalism is not isolation. It is quickening the process of urbanization. People living together in higher densities, in towns. So when you create states, you have to think over them properly. And if you have no time, follow what was done by others, British districts. They're not problematic at all. You'll find in one district, 2 to 3 tribes. There may be one bigger, but they had lived together for time. So now reconciliation. How do we do the reconciliation? America, all of you now have become, you have sharp tongues. You have very sharp pens. You get into the internet. You disseminate your ideas. Some of them are very hostile. Some of them are very constructive. During the time of war, you were at liberty to say anything. Riek Machar, but now you're moving towards peace. You want peace. what will be your attitude to your country people who are with you? Will you still have barriers? Or will you take the courage and say, look, this thing has been resolved? How do you direct your pen, your thinking, your sharp thinking? Will you still continue fighting in the internet as an internet warrior? Because your writings don't end up here. They are read in Juba, they are read in Ye, they are read in Bajok, they are read in Bentiu. Bentiu now the internet system is destroyed. They are read in Malakal, or the system is destroyed. Or in Bor. How do you conform? How do you transform to the fact that the country is moving to peace? Will you support the idea that X has reservations? Or will you move forward and say, keep the reservations, shelve them, let's move forward? And reconciliation is a challenging issue. When you hide from listening to ideas, when you hide, you don't start dialoguing. But the lady, you can say, the stronghold with herself, good alhamdulillah. Let me go and dialogue with them. Yesterday I was told you we were 200. Whether they are supporters of SPLM, SPLIO, or supporters of the regime. I wanted to talk. I wanted to debate with them. Because it's important. If I cannot come to Kansas, then will I go to Juba? In Juba there are guns. In Kansas there are no guns. So we should start the process. Some people told me, why don't you come back? I said, no. The little number I'll get, I will talk to them. One day, something will bring me back to the UN or to Washington, D.C. By that time, someone will be troubling to go and listen to me. Or then I'll make another mission and say, okay, in Kansas, I didn't get all the people that time. Maybe it's time to go and talk to them. And that will depend on whether I see, when I'm monitoring whether you are still internet warriors. But if you have become peacemakers, then I say, well, I had got messengers who send the message to those who were skeptical. We came also to New York because the AU Peace and Security Council was discussing the report. This is the report of, final report of the violations. It was distributed to us in Addis, the heads of the state, and we as a party to the conflict. But we were told not to give it out until they discussed it. Finally, on the 26th of December, of this month, September, they discussed it. And it is now public. Read it, because it will help you in the process of reconciliation and national healing. It has a very strong chapter on national reconciliation and healing. So we want you to know of it, because who knows, a friend of yours might get himself involved, and you may be a lawyer. You will have to think of how to defend him in court, or devise means of how to get about reconciliation. So our people, from our side, we started kicking off disseminating the peace agreement in Addis. I was the chief that day. And then we sent a delegation to Nairobi under Dr. Dio, and to Uganda under the deputy chairman, where they met the authorities of Uganda, and to Khartoum under the chairmanship of Dr. Dio, and to Cairo. We have covered the diasporas of the neighboring countries. So we felt we should come to you. We don't want you to remain in the cold, fighting and we want you to be constructive citizens that will be supporting peace, that will be disseminating peace, that will contribute to consolidating peace. That is our mission. So I want to stop here. We want to hear your questions. It will not be me alone who will be answering questions. All of us at the podium here, and some among you here will contribute to answering your questions. It's unfortunate that yesterday we couldn't catch up, but nothing is too late. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Now the most exciting time has come, and the Chairman is ready to take your questions. It's time for Q&A. And so we will take it by panels here. So if somebody has a question on this side, one thing, the ground rules for the questions are that you try to keep it precise. All right, do not try to lecture somebody. As usual, we don't lecture people here, but we ask questions. All right. So that's how we're going to conduct our questions. So let me see your hands up if you have a question. Yes, sir.
My name is John Gak. This question to Dr. Riek. I need to know, when you go back to Juba, what's your position in the government? Are you going to go back to the vice, or how are we going to share the leadership with the Salva Kiir mayor?
You're not at the agreement.
That's great. Okay, let's take the next question. Yes, let's say here first.
Thank you so much. My name is Mutnyang. I'm a chairperson of Betu community. My question is based on the compensation of the people who lost the property and life. So who is going to compensate the people on property? Is the government of South Sudan or United Nations? Thank you.
The next question.
Yes, my name is Dan Mudut. I'm from Kitbayadi, Turale. So thank you for mentioning Turale. My question is, when you came up with the 21 states, the issue of the territory, yeah, I think I looked into it, but I didn't see the proposed. For example, United States has Washington D.C. Australia has a Canberra. Yeah, capital. So, and 3 days ago when Salva Kiir came up with with the 28 states, he didn't tell us, the citizens, the issue of the national, the federal government territory. What do you propose about the federal territory area? That's my question.
Okay, let's get a question from my right-hand side, which is more closer to me.
My name is Ladu Gore. I'm from Central Equatoria. My question is going direct to Dr. Riek Machar. My question based on genocide that happened after the so-called coup. And then after the massacre of Bor by the White Army, what will be the solution or the situation that after you will be back and you will be questioned by the international organization, you and Mr. President Salva Kiir Mayardit, about the massacre of Juba in the first place. And after the rebellion happened in Bor, after the massacre of Bor by itself, what will be the solution when the international organization asks you two people? Because what I've seen, like in 1940 or 1950, you know it very well, when Jomo Kenyatta said, when the two elephants fighting, the grass suffer. So that grass, are we in Juba? Are we in Bor? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I stop here.
All right, just quickly, let's keep our questions precise. We want to maximize usage of our time here, please. Let's keep it precise. Oh. Okay, ladies first, possibly. I'm sorry, guys.
Thank you. I thought we have been limited out. My question is like this. First, thank you, Mr. Riek, for coming to see us in Kansas City. Yesterday, we are so tired of waiting, but thanks God brought you to meet us. My name is Nora. I'm from Central Victoria. My question goes like this. As you mentioned about the land, I myself, I got a land in Juba. Now it has been taken away from me. I don't have any home now. Where am I going to go? As you people say, we have to go back home. I don't have a home now. Where will I go? Secondly, as the president has mentioned the states, say 28 states, my question is going to the capital city. Is going to be in Juba still, or is going to go where it has been selected before? Thank you.
Thank you. Question with I understand. Ismia Arenga Kodautia from Northern Barkaza, Awi. Lama shakala bada fi Juba. The rais ya badao wala jesh bita. Adina confused finus. So haja dere naarifu عشان لو مشينا نعرف منو يا كان خرب قتل الشعب بتاع السودان the Salva or Riek Machar. So they how I don't understand كلمة ده. I is so confused. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move to my left.
Now they should be answered. You just take one person.
Thank you so much. I have two quick questions here. First of all, my name is David Bang from Canada. First question is about IDPs in various towns or cities in South Sudan. Are there plans to get these people back to their place in that 30 months transitional period? The second question is about leadership, governance that Your Excellency, Dr. Riek, put up together. How much power did you give to leadership structures? Because I can see here, or even in South Sudan, that there are things that can be handled by undersecretary. But because of the tendencies of our people, they wouldn't listen to, let's say, a chairperson of a national committee. They would not. They would wait for an answer directly from you, not even from your deputy. So how much power do you give them? Or do you still have all the powers to decide and settle everything? Thank you.
Yes, we have one question, and then we will have the questions answered. So we have one question, guys. Keep your questions for next time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Michael. First of all, I would like to commend you for being a champion, for being a first person to put a signature on that important document. It's going to prevent. Secondly, being a man of peace, I also like to commend you for extending your hand to the GA during the time when things were hard. You said unless they were released, no meaningful negotiations were going to happen. Although when they were released, they gave you a left hand. I don't know. Sorry for those who are, Now, my question is about the decree. President Salva Kiir has a missed power on himself, issuing decrees, appointing his friend and the people who are going to help him, even including the MPs who are supposed to be elected by the people. And when confronted, he said, well, I'm the elected president, so I have that right. Of late, you have also issued some decrees. So my question is there any link between democratic principles and issuing all these decrees? Now you're going to be ruling together with Salva Kiir. Do you in particular have a system in mind that is going, for the governance other than decrees? My belief is that a decree is a form of dictatorship. Are we going to continue these decrees, or you're going to put system in place for the governance? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Let's give hands to these questions, guys, and have them answered. Okay, the chairman has spoken. 3 more questions.
Okay, let me answer the question.
All right, thank you.
Because they have increased. If they were 3, we would say yes. Let me ask my colleagues. Anybody want to answer any question? Alfred, you, brother. Kick off. You can do nothing.
Viva! 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 SPLM Viva!
Viva! Thank you very much, Comrade Chairman, for this opportunity. And also let me apologize to people of this city for the mess up which happened yesterday. And it is good that our chairman took responsibility upon himself and the delegation that we arrived late.
people were waiting in the hall for almost more than 8 hours. I thank you very much. Also, I want to recognize the attendance this morning. We know very well this is Monday, and our people are off day now for 3 days because of these consecutive events which are taking place. You know very well Kamrwani was here the day before yesterday. We were supposed to be here yesterday. And today you decide to call off the work and come to listen to our leaders. This is good and we appreciate it. I just want to attempt the root cause of this conflict. One of the speakers picked up a very critical point. That is, who started fighting? This is really very important. And I want to pick it up as one of witness. Not because of my ethnic background, but I want to tell reality. I want to say reality, and I want to be in records on this issue. This is really very important because the country belongs to us, and we want to make it a beautiful country like this country of America, where you are now hosted. Comrades, I know very well, and all of us know this, that the machinery of media in Juba play a big role to mislead South Sudanese that the war is an ethnic war. It's a fighting between Nuer and Dinka. It was a fighting generated by the power anger leader who want to make a shortcut to power. And hence, he attempted a coup. That was how these things was projected, actually. In our side, we don't have media, like SSTV. Thank God that this is the era of Facebook. But actually, we could not live to extend how things were projected in Juba. This is not true completely. What happened, and most of you are actually members of the SPLM, the ruling party. They know reality. What happened is this. You know, comrades, we went for liberation for more than 21 years. And the reason we fight North, it was not because they are brown in their color. It was not because they are Muslims, actually. But the Southerners were not happy with the system of governance. That was the reason why there was a war for more than 5 decades. We were looking for the good governance, the better way to administer our diversity. We are nations, and we believe that we can create a good formula that can bring our unity, can make us all feel belonging to a place called South Sudan. This has not happened. After we liberated ourselves from the north, we decided to divert the cause of people of South Sudan. The slogans that we use to raise the justice, democracy, equality, we forget them. we decided to follow the footsteps of our colonial masters, the Arabs. I was part of the members who were mandated to make transitional constitution of South Sudan 2011. I was a member of that body, and I witnessed how things were actually manipulated and diverted. The constitution of Sudan and South Sudan of 2005, which derived from the CPA, I want to tell you, brothers and sisters, it was more friendly to people than the current constitution. There were elements of federalism in that constitution where the judiciary, executive, and legislature were actually taken to the state level. But when we are about to have our country and we decided to make our own constitution, we revised that constitution and tried to centralize the aspect of federation. I was part of discussion. One of my comrades, a veteran to the liberation, somebody who stood up for the cause of people of South Sudan. He was fighting for democracy. He was fighting for justice, equality. He was fighting for the decentralization, the participation of the people. Stood up and said, we were not for federation. When the aspect of federalism were discussed, he said we were not for federation. We were cheating Arabs. And we want to confuse them, say that we continue with the war. But since we got our independence now, it is time to centralize the government. That was a statement from one of the comrades, somebody who fought the war of liberation. I was surprised. I couldn't keep quiet. I raised up, and it was on record. I reminded them that, brothers, if that was the conception, I tell you, we are going to fight people of South Sudan. This is what happened exactly now. This is exactly what happened. Because we were not fighting Arab because he's Arab. We were fighting injustice. We were not fighting Arab because they are Muslims. We were fighting injustice. And anybody that will attempt to do injustice, it will be fought by people of South Sudan. The coup theory, it was coined in order to cover up something. Because there was a debate in the ruling party, the SPLM. Riek Machar stood up clearly. Actually, during the time he was vice president, some people now used to say he just spoke, or he began to speak because he was relieved from this position. That is not true. In that constitution, I said when it was being formulated, he wrote his own version, and he served us, members of the constitution, with his thinking and ideas about how the country should be ruled, especially the federation. And it was rejected by those of John Luke, those of Michael McQueen, those of Larry. They rejected it. He defended his ideas in the Council of Ministers. By then he was vice president. But because people don't talk to the government of Sulfur, if you are an employee of Sulfur, it's a crime to talk. And you know, the case of Elias. You know the case of Abdullah Dek. There are so many. You cannot criticize, you know. So, but actually, he stood up in Council of Ministers. He defended his position, but he could not make it. He further submitted his own version of constitution to the assembly. And you know this statement by itself that we are not one in the government. The vice president has already submitted his own constitution into the assembly. We are two governments. It was because of these ideas. So the call for federation and justice and equality has not started in the SPLM-IO. It has been there since we were in the government. But because the president don't want actually criticism, he don't want justice, he don't want democracy, he don't want to give chance to others who express their aspiration to rule that country, he decided to coin coup theory. And it has started since 2012. And I want to remind it, my sister Riek is my auntie actually. I want to remind her that the fighting in Juba has not started in 15 December. It has been planned since 2012, when a big force was recruited, especially Northern Barghazal and Warab, and they were brought to area called Luri in order to be a special force that could protect the president if there is anything. This is where actually the conspiracy started, and this is how people were actually mobilized without knowing it, that there is going to be a fight. We in the SPLM, we decided to fight the government in April 2014. This is after 4 months, after some of us were chased away and we are being chased. People want to kill us, we ran away. Our chairman decided to resist when it was called by many of us in Nasser. That was April 2014. This is where we started war actually. Otherwise we have been resisting, we were running away. So war is started in Juba. We were the one who started the war, and they know this very well. It collapsed in the court when some of campus were arrested, the detainees, they were arrested and they were charged of treason with our chairman. But what happened? The senior commanders of the SPLA Juba and their chief intelligence come up clearly in the court confessing that there was no coup. And the case collapsed in the court. They released those of the because there was no evidence that there was a coup. Some friendly countries like Uganda, when they met in the meeting with our chairman, President Museveni, said clearly that there was no coup. There was a fighting in the presidential guard. Just individual fighting, not really coup. So there was no coup. So we were surprised when we saw Comrade President in uniform, fatigue, declaring that he managed to arrest the situation and he managed to arrest the people behind coup, and some of them, including his leader, their leader, is applied. He means Comrade Riek, Comrade Alfred, and Comrade Aban. They were supposed to be arrested. This is how things actually went out of hand. It is true, the war took this ethnic side in the beginning, because after this statement in the media that there was a coup, and coup was done by Riek Machar and his tribe, the Hungary young men from the Dinka in Juba decided to target Nuer. And when Nuer were targeted, this is the time of technology. We have now a smartphone where we can speak and inform our relatives. The Nuer were informed that there is a killing in Juba and Nuer is being targeted. Such and such were killed. This resulted into revenge. But who was responsible? This resulted into revenge in many states in Greater Upper Nile, where there were Dinkas. They were targeted, but who was responsible? Our chairman by then, who was running his life, he don't know what is happening. So it was because of that press statement made by the president, which actually drive the country to anarchy. We are really very happy that we managed it. When it was moving to Bor and Gadian, it was trying to calm down the situation, and he managed, actually. He managed to calm down the situation. He managed to inform Nuer people that this war is not an ethnic war. Because some of his comrades already they were captured and they were put into jail. Those of Majanga God, those of Yedwa, you know, those of Bengal. These are Dinkas. They were arrested. So he was telling them that, look, what is taking place is not a tribal fight, is the government who is deciding to target one ethnic group, and we can manage it. Thank God that we managed this. It could not happen. Our people need to know this, that there is no country which can be ruled by one tribe. The 99% vote for independence in self-determination of people of South Sudan were not making of one tribe. This is a making of people of South Sudan. And we thought our leaders, especially in the SPLM, the president and his comrades, they will use that as a platform to unite people of South Sudan. Because already we have a unity. Since we managed to gain our independence by voting 99%, that is already a unity, Ajama. But unfortunately, we were dragged. People attempt to drag us to this situation. You have listened to Dr. Riek Machar and way how we addressed all these concerns in the peace agreement. This peace agreement is going to create a better South Sudan, that we are all for it. South Sudan is going to look like America, Jamal. This is reality. If we implement this agreement, because what we want is there, all. We are going to reform the institutions, there will be no tribalism. If we reform the institutions according to the agreement that we have now, there is not going to be corruption. We know that some of you are not happy because the leaders of the SPLM have decided to loot their country. This thing is going to be stopped. It's not going to happen. We are going to concentrate the little resources that we have to development. We are going to put them on the roads. And I'm happy he tasked me with the responsibility of roads. I'm now looking around to see how the bridges and roads are constructed in this country. Very beautiful country. We want your support, all of you. We want your support as a South Sudanese. We are for peace. We came here for peace. We want each of you to put his hand with us, with sulfur, in order to implement peace agreement. This is where we can have a better country. Thank you very much, Commander.
Yes. Contributions to the answering.
Yes. Thank you very much. I just...
Viva SPLM!
Viva!
Viva SPLM!
Viva!
Viva Madam
Viva!
Angelina!
Viva!
Viva Madam Angelina!
Viva!
Viva our mom Angelina!
Viva!
Viva First Lady!
Viva! Thank you. Now, I actually just want to
to supplement a little on the answer of the root causes. And this is why I appreciate this forum very much, because at least, you know, the place to start, the reconciliation that our chairman spoke about earlier, is the root causes. If you don't identify the root causes, you wouldn't know where to start your reconciliation and healing. On the night of 15 December 2013, we were just entertaining some people in our house, and we were having a dinner discussing a website, because I was told to develop a website. So that's what we were doing, and really we just picked up ourselves, thinking that in the morning we would come back to the house. And the reason we left the house was because some of the chairman's guards were feeling very uneasy. They felt that the house was in one way or another surrounded, and that they would not be able to protect any of us in the house for that night. So we reluctantly agreed. But I want to add, there was a statement made by the gentleman there speaking about a massacre of Bor and a massacre of Juba. It's important to relate this story. We arrived Bor on the 24th of December under very heavy bombardment, including the cluster bombs that were being thrown on us by the Ugandan forces. Not only cluster bombs, but shelling with very heavy artillery, some I've never heard before. We intended to just rest a little in Bor, but with this, and there were gunships as well. So we could not stay, it became very hot, and we had to leave. But I want to say something as well, because when we were coming, we met a lot of people in Mangala, coming from police, coming from Megiri, and from other places, and they included families with children. So we helped escort those people to the UNMIS camp in Juba, in Bor. In Bor, by that time, many of the citizens of Bor, and especially the Dinka Bor, had crossed across to Aliap. General Gadet had helped them to cross to Aliap areas. Anyway, we started to march. I also want to say that the White Army and the reaction to the bombardment and the chasing that started from Juba, the reaction started on the 31st of December. That is almost more than 2 weeks later. By that time, the people of Bor had left Bor. And when the government forces came to Bor, there were Nuer people, Anuak people, those who felt that maybe the situation would be arrested where it was. They did not leave Bor. Those were the victims in Bor. And this White Army that came to recapture Bor, actually they walked from the Longwell, they walked from the Gawa, and some Lak people. They passed some Dinka villages on the way. The Dinka villages included the Nyarweng, the Twitch, the people of Duk, and so on. And those people, when they pass them, nothing happens to them. So the misleading in the media that there was a massacre in Bor, in fact, the people who died in Bor were mostly those who did not go to Aliap area, which meant they were not Dinka Bor. and they died in the hands of the government. But there were many battles fought in both. In total, 11. And by that time, many of the civil population had they're either in Woodmise camp, or they walked northwards, northeast, coming to Gadian, all the way to refugee camps in Ethiopia, and so on and so forth. It's very important to have these records right. Even some of the Western people who went with that impression and were given the impression in Juba ended up in an embarrassing situation, reporting things that were not accurate. And this, if you look at the UN reports, because UN have done a lot of reports on this, it's very important to check and read those reports carefully. Some of them will give you an idea of what had really happened. And this is key. But on that, I want to move on to talk about, he said when the international community comes to us, in the agreement there is a hybrid court to be established by the AU. This hybrid court is to try those who have, in one way or another, engaged in the violations of either the international humanitarian law, human rights, committed massacres, genocide, ethnic cleansing, you name it. But there is another important institution, which is called the Truth Commission. And this Truth Commission is a tool where we all go and tell our stories. And anybody who thinks that they can make up stories is better to think again. Because even, for example, if you talk about Bantu, institutions such as ICRC have already done investigations on some of the issues. We from the IO have always fought very hard for the release of this report of the commission, the AU Commission of Inquiries on South Sudan conflict. And this is because we open ourselves to scrutiny, because we say justice is an important aspect and an important pillar for actually building this nation and fighting impunity. And therefore, we fought very hard that this report needs to be released. And justice needs to be served. And it is up to the person who's been aggrieved and the victim to decide to say, I forsake or I give up my right for justice for whatever reason. Even though we're embarking on a process of national healing and reconciliation, that's not a substitute for justice. And I want to say, again, in supplement of some of the statements that were made by Alfred Ladu Gore earlier in this matter, because this is a very important matter. You know, when we were walking from Juba and on hot pursuit, or under hot pursuit, at one stage, myself and Comrade Taban had to really tell our chairman, please, you need to concentrate. Because by that time, this is 2 weeks later, even 3 weeks later when we were in Gadian, because by that time he has not gotten his head around this arms resistance. But it was obvious that there was no any other way, because the house was burning. There was a scorched earth policy being implemented by Juba regime. And the only thing a father or a mother could do is not to run out of the house and scream to say, my house is burning and my children are inside. You do your best while you're inside to rescue as many children as you can. this was the position we were in, and our chairman had to handle and manage that time. And at the same time trying to manage a situation created in Juba where an impression has been given that there is, in fact, a tribal war going on between the Nuers and the Dinkas, when really there were no Dinkas who mobilized themselves through their chiefs to go to Nuer villages and kill Nuer. There was a government and men in uniform under command, given directives to go and do what they did in Juba. So we must not mistake that. And we must all clarify that there were men in uniform, government institutions, government instrument, government and people's power used to mislead. And this is important because quarrels between Dinkas and Nuer are not new, and they know how they do it. We all know how they do it. You see, we all know how they do it. And we all know how they settle them as well, and so on. So this is very key. فللأخوة أنا داير أقول أنا لأنه هي اتكلمت بالعربي قبل مهم جدا. داير أقول إنه الشغلانة اللي بدأت في جوبا بدأوا الرئيس الفكير. وده حقيقة واضحة زي الشمس. ما كان في انقلاب، ما كان في ترتيب لحرب، وإنما بس كان في ترتيب لشغل سياسي مفروض يحصل بدأ ممكن تقول البريس كونفرنس اللي اتعمل يوم 6 يمكن ما البداية، ولكن ده كان البداية اللي خلى شغلانة تبقى شغل بابليك وشغل عام. ده مهم عشان احنا نساعد بعض في انه نرجع لانه نساعد الشعوب بتاعنا بتاع جنوب السودان انه تحصل صلح بيناتهم. ده مهم جدا. فالكلام ده انا بقوله مش من اي منطلق تاني، بل من منطلق بتاع انه الحقائق دي مهمه، ونحن ماشيين في سلام هسه، والكلام اللي انا بقوله هنا ده لازم يكون عندي سبيس في جوبا عشان اقول الكلام ده، لانه ده الحقيقه. لانه ده الحقيقه وده اللي بيودينا قدام عشان نحن نتخطى المرحله ده ونجي لمرحله جديده. شكرا.
SPLM Viva! Viva! Youth Viva! Viva!
Thank you, Corporate Chairman. My fellow South Sudanese brothers and sisters, allow me to take this opportunity to first of all introduce myself. My name is Angok Akapet. I'm from Northern Baragazal, but a member of the SPLM in IO, under the leadership of our chairman. I've taken this opportunity to also add a few on the remarks made by Dr. Dio, Comrade Dr. Dio, and Madam Angelina, our mother. And why I've taken up the stand is mostly to you, the youths. We know that we have been driven, and we all don't know at the moment where we are being led to. And I say this as a Dinka, with the image that is seen around the world to be the initiators of the war. But not all Dinkas are like Salva Kiir. Salva Kiir has portrayed an image that is negative to the world, to the citizens of South Sudan, and to us, the youth. The solidarity that we used to have has dropped, maybe 50 or 40%. But our roles at the moment in the SPLM opposition is to make sure that this solidarity still exists. In 2013, when he issued his decrees relieving all the cabinet, my comrade Red and I, at that time, were youth activists. We saw this war coming and decided to have an initiative that could bring the Dinka youth and Nuer together and have a dialogue and see how we can convince President Salva, Chairman Dr. Riek. During that time, it was Ambassador Lowina, who was the minister in the office of the president. We did our proposals, we tried our level best, but they turned us down. And when the war broke out in December, one of the main statements that has remained in my mind and still remains in my mind to now is what President Salva Kiir said during the NLC meeting, that this will not be 1991. In the manner we're in 2015 now. There are those who were born in 1991 that are doctors now, that are that represent people. And what happened in 1991 was what rewarded us with the independence. Dr. Riek stood up for the self-determination of the people of South Sudan. And in 2013 again, when he got up and said, you know, things are not going well in the country, we were the ones who were supporting him. And we said, time has come. For my fellow youth, it's important that we embrace our solidarity, and it's important that we know our diversity is what gives us the strength.
Yes.
And I say this because you can even see the amount of work that you, the youths, are doing at the moment. Dr. Riek is driving the engine that we are propelling. And if that engine stops functioning, then who will he have to drive? For it's important that we keep the message of our unity in mind. We will inglab, these were all, I don't even know how we can even name it. I want to say all, a bunch of, the English done again, I will not say it again. There was no coup. There was no coup. We are fighting for reforms, and the reforms are now coming to South Sudan. So it's your opportunity now to make sure that we develop our country and to make South Sudan become America, like Dr. Theo said earlier. Thank you very much.
Anybody else who wants to come in? Okay. Now then, let me take over. Well, let me, the question which was asked by Riek Machar has been, it was on the root causes. And the stories narrated are all true. But just let me add one thing. If there was Ingilab, and I planned it, and my base is Nuer, we know how many soldiers of Nuer are in the UN protection camps today. For Juba, inside Juba, there are over 6,000.
Oh, okay.
Inside Juba, the soldiers trained.
Okay, I will do it.
If there was Inglab and I'm the one doing it, and it was based on tribal, I think they will they'll take their guns. Maybe I will them not to take their guns. In Bull, there are over 3,700 in the UNMIS camp, protection camp. But then Mr. in Gilab, they will take Juba straight away. Because Mathiamanyor was in an experienced jesh. They could not fight 6,000 armed, seasoned army. Not possible. So you have to learn fighting. You know, you don't, even the sound of gun itself, you have to get used to it, even if you are courageous. You know? So by the time they have learned, the Inglab would have taken place. Yeah. There was no Inglab. There was no coup. But Selpa wanted to get rid of us. If he had got me, الجماعة اللي قبضوا يوم ده كان ضبع راسهم كله. But because he did not get me, whom the person he says is the coup leader, and there was a cry that people had been arrested, he couldn't kill them. There were some of them who were very afraid that they would get killed. They would get killed. But Rabbana Shagal did not happen. Because for some time it was not known where they were. The root causes, it goes back to our independence. A group of us wanted, if not the constitution based on the CPA, but a better constitution, which will make South Sudan forward. Not a constitution where powers are given to the president and he works with it. We had a lot of debate with those of Yongo, Mukwe, and the rest. When Yongo was arrested, and when those who were with him in jail were telling him, John, we told you. We told you this is a bad constitution. You don't tailor a constitution to the interest of one person, even if that person is your friend. Because tomorrow in governance, people differ. Political views differ. If you don't protect the opposition, if you don't protect yourself, and you tailor the constitution to the interest of one particular person, that person becomes a dictator. This is how Selva became a dictator. There's a responsibility of many people over this. We are hoping that with this peace agreement, there will be amendments of the Constitution. We have already nominated 2 of our people. And this is Henry Udwar. He is a seasoned MP, he's a lawmaker in that parliament, and join us. He's now in Canada. He's supposed to have come here. He will be heading our team. He is being supported by BL Butrus BL. Butrus BL is a lawyer, human rights lawyer. So that they review the Constitution, amend it This is the current constitution we were complaining against, based on the agreement. While another group will be starting working on the permanent constitution, which will be based on federalism, because we're now implementing federalism. That constitution will be finished by the 18th month. This is where we want your contribution. What you have learned in America here, how the federal system works, what are the powers at the local government, what are the resource formation in the local government, and the same, the devolution of powers at the state and the devolution of resources at the state. And then the national government, the minimum. When we were discussing this issue of the states, the government used to say, "Mafi Gurush, we cannot create more states." Well, that's our creation of more states. So please take this federalism serious. It's for you. We're very critical of self-care. If it was left to us, self-care should not lead the transition. Because I go in the wash, will they have a face to tell those people, naturally, protection comes in Juba, how do they face them? They're his citizens. What will he be telling them? That Nafata, Makatalta? They have been in, they chose to live in that situation, very bad situation. We owe their government outside. They literally they are refugees in their own country under the protection of the UN. How will they face them? If he goes to Malakal or Bandiwa, how will he tell them this country was destroyed? Regaman Ahmad Ingelap, or even if he goes to Bor. He could not go to Bor when President Museveni went to Bor. The head of state that does not visit his country when another head of state comes in. This is difficult. If it was somebody else, when the world dismissed the idea of coup, and when he lost the case in the courts, his own courts, he should have said, "Oh, I have been citizen." And even when his term expired, because between December 2013 up to May 21st, 2015, or up to July 8th, Selpa would claim legitimacy because of the elections of 2012. But after that, he has no legitimacy now. His only hangs on we accepting that there is a peace agreement. If we were to turn around and say, this peace agreement, Selpa's out, he has no legitimacy. Yahkamanas Bayatu, Intikhabat Inta, that elected him. He massacred his own people and he's president. What is the legitimacy? It's only the peace agreement Because if we have agreed, then this is when his term would get extended by the peace agreement. Because people of South Sudan, they want their vote back. They want their power back to vote in a new person. He obstructed it. So we, if it is left to us, we would say, Self, you resign. We'll see. Even let the peace agreement be implemented by others. But we are realists. OA has managed to create in minds of some of our sections, particularly among the Dengue community, that this is a war between him and between the Dengue and the Nuer. The story told you by Geneva. Goddamn, where we stayed for a month thinking what to do. And I was afraid if I left Gadiam, the angry Nuer youth might go and attack all Nyarwen, Tui. And then the thing, what Selva wants, he would see it operational. So I stayed in Gadiam to prevent anything to happen. Until it got into the minds of the citizens, this is not a war between Denka and Nuer. We told them, yeah, we are fighting a system in Juba. Yeah, accidentally it happened that the president is a Denka. Accidentally or by design he made the forces he used are Denka. But there are, who is his chief of staff? So we say, look, let's fight the system, the one in uniform. Don't touch civil population in your end. The story told to you by the men, actually from Sudan Safari, when we were walking, up to the time we reached Wood, we were not seeing citizens. So when I arrived where the dead was, the dead happened. Where are the citizens? He told me he had asked the citizens to cross the river. To cross the river, go to Aliab. And if you want proof, see the population of those who were in Minkaman. You know where Minkaman is? Who were in Minkaman on the 24th of December. There was over 75,000. And the 24th of December was the day I arrived board. And people were now calling for relief because 7 days had gone since the fighting in Bor. But what happened in Bor is important to know. Police fought each other. It was not even Gadet. Gadet was reluctant to join anything. Police fought themselves in Bor. And those who were supporting Selma were defeated in Bor. Gadet, his troops fought themselves on the 18th in his headquarters. After the fighting had been resolved in Bor on the 17th by the police, units of police. Today you'll hear Gadet is being sanctioned. So, you are sanctioning Gadet for what? He has told the citizens he is not in control. Cross the river, go with your cattle. How do you sanction such a person? I know some people have come up to the United States and they know this story. They tell it. If you talk to Deng Tien, two of his relatives who were in war, witness, our dad had told him, cross. She doesn't travel. I'm Shubaratan. There are no troops. Fibaratan. So that is good. Now when you talk about Muslims, who was killed in Bor? The people I saw in Bor were others who are not from Bor, who were thinking that maybe this clash is going to be resolved easily, and their homes are made in Manua, and who felt maybe when the government troops come in, they will be secure. They were wrong. They got killed. Only those who did not who went to the UN were not killed. And you remember when Makwe tried to force his way into the UN camp, and there was shooting, sporadic shooting on IDPs in Bor. These stories are known, they are documented. So even if someone wants to create another story, they will not last before court. The truth will be known. That is why we say, as long as there is a hybrid court, those who committed crimes will be found. As long as there is truth and reconciliation and healing, people will talk, and the culprits will be brought. So my fear is, will we manage to get into the minds of our people so that they accept reconciliation? Or will they be brooding the anger? Or will they be avoiding to discuss it? Because it's good to discuss it. When you discuss it, you'll find ways to say, okay, how do we solve it? Did you ever ask yourself why first Alfred Ladu, why did he join the resistance? Because he attended a press conference on the 6th, and he spoke there. Because the only evidence that surfaces is floating among people that there is a coup is the press conference we held in the house, SPLM house. Alfred was there, and he spoke. So they targeted him. What about you? The troops that self-use are children from, young people from northern Bahrain and Marab. Why did he join the resistance? Maghrib the command. When he saw the killings in Juba taking place, and 6 of his students who were shot, he said, this is not a government. He's a university lecturer. And decided to leave. He rang me on the 27th of December. After he was smuggled out. I don't want to say who smuggled him out because he might be arrested. The situation is hot in Juba. Still hot. He was smuggled out. From Entebbe, he rang me. Say, look, I'm out. in Kampala. If there are peace talks which are being said now that IGAD has gone into the country, he's here. He's also a witness of what happened. And he told him he's a Dinka. That should have a Dinka with a PhD. And he left a job, share of commission, and also a lecturer in the university. People should not be the Dinka. You should not answer. Agnes here, a member of parliament. Agnes, maybe they don't know you. The boom show of hope. She's a member of parliament. And she quit. Her husband is a businessman. Why? Because she saw what she did not expect. I'm mentioning the non-Nuer. But since the Nuer have been accused of the coup, so an ambassador will be told that you are a coup maker. The ambassador gave him a coup. So these are national victims. What about the rest? Those who have conscience. And what they have seen that the Ungutal, members of parliament, for Ramadan, did not come with us from Terkaka, is a member of parliament. Peter Marshall Minchar, why, in December, Peter Marshall. We have sent a Bona Malone. Bona is accused of being a member of the young Council of Elders. So see, because people get shocked by what has happened. The Arabs, they love Mahamud. They never used their force in their own capital. How many? We were 4 million refugees in Khartoum. When Nazir Biyamul Shagab, they will do raids in the capital. But they never used the army to kill South Sudanese. What happened in Juba is totally something, nobody gives it. Imkin with Rwanda, but even Rwanda's case was not government versus its citizens. It was a group of citizens fighting each other, Tutsi and Hutus. And the law broke down. So we don't want Salva to be president. But what can we do? We want peace. We want to bring peace. We have to accept him, lead the transition. Ma haya few sharaf. The desperate situation of people of South Sudan. The war has been spreading. It went to northern Baharagiza. It went to western Baharagiza. It's in western Equatoria. It is in central Equatoria. It is in eastern Equatoria. If it is not because of this peace, but sure you will find the whole South Sudan is engulfed in warfare. Lex is lawless by itself. So when the pressure came, when peace, we cherished peace. We accepted it. Ate the celebrates to be the head of the state. So later, what will we be doing? In the agreement it says I will be first vice president. Not you shut up. feel there's nothing. But because we have to bring South Sudan to peace, we have to unite people of South Sudan. We have to accept that. I know Seto more than anybody. Who had, up to now, he even talks of a coup. And if he talks of a coup, one of you, one of bullshit. I would say the opposite. And I raise Kalamak da, Masa. His courts proved it, no coup. The IGAD, even including Museveni, no coup. The Americans, no coup. Why do you stick to it? Whom is he mobilizing? Is he living in his own world? And if we don't say this, we will not reconcile. So then we want process of reconciliation. ما نحرم منه. دور الجاي لما نجي نازل supporting سلوى خلوهم يجي. يجي يسمع كلامي يمكن وقت ذاته. I may not repeat these things. Things will change. We want things to change to the positive, not to the negative. Huh? So that is first question. And the second one. Compensation, who will do it? If you read the agreement, it is the government. But the government has a hukum mufallas. When I went to Ane in New York, I could ask, keep Gurush. Keep Gurush, so that we implement these soldiers, we put them in assembly areas. Can Gurush mafi? Then Maria Ahmad Jo Garula, Chayo Shamajam. Actually, the Mama there was in Mali. The David then authority. She's saying, why the Guru Kulakal? Capital territory. Taba Nana, we are for Ramshin. Is a Dengaland. But we support Ramshin because it is central. وزول الكبير لو ده في the capital is in his place لو هو قلادة فالناس بيقولوا هي انت عايز تعمل شو؟ لأن ده حقنا كلنا. فجوبا في many problems in it. There are people who are threatened by extinction. Come 10 years, Bari will not be there, the language will be Arabic. They get threatened, but this is not the most important. People, it is the land. Land is the major resource. If we behave, we go to Juba. نمشي نقطع أرضية كبير نقول والله أنا vice president, I take this as my land. Who has, the person who has been fending on that land, and mind you, higher time, this land. If you don't compensate him or her, he will remain in poverty for years to come. And this happened. When 107, Nyakamu. Kemuru, Nyakamu. Jebel, Takujur, Nyakamu. Tamshi Baratani. Yakamu. Okay, those who see the land to be the only resource, have you provided for them? Nothing. It is their livelihood. There were no plans that, okay, ya Clement, Mahale Shilo, Nas without the Nazmo, Okoma Doom, this sum of money for them to make businesses so that they don't cry. This was not done. Force was used. Nyakama was Yao Shabbat. And these are the people who are coming to say, oh, it is our capital. And they come in big numbers. And by the way, we don't know our numbers. Even the Denka and the Nuer, they do not know their numbers. How many people go to Juba every day looking for other opportunities? Woman, maybe she will go to win. Maybe she will come and get Tanas. So now, can you give out Ramsey? I thought he was going to put it in Ramsey and say now, because we passed it in the Council of Ministers. When as Alfred Ladu Gore and Sernam, we send them as a committee to Ramsey. Personally, I went more than 3 times in preparation of Ramsey. This is when our unity will be. Then Ramsey, who open land, Matthew Nas. It's near the river. The wildlife that used to be there had moved towards Shamden. We can build it. We can build a more spacious town that will unite people. Well, when you are in one place and there's somebody grumbling always, and you don't listen to his grumble, my fair. Then in the talk with Ardim Tazul, and you don't provide alternative. This is never good. We don't want to be in conflict. No, no, no. Some say, the capital must be in Juba, because if it is not in Juba, the Equatorians are going to secede. But they will secede if there is oppression against them. They would, if the rest oppress them. Like the incident, the crisis in Juba. The Nuer would say they want to succeed. Because why would they be killed by its own government? So we continue. And we focus people to reform, to creating a better state, a better system of governance. Okay, we leave. I'm being told my time is gone, but I think I have sent my messages. Well, the international community is not the one going to make us account. Already 3 institutions that will be established. Are there plans to return the IDPs back to their places of origin? Yes, definitely. Definitely, they should go back. But there's a law which says you're free to stay anywhere. If you don't want to go back to the place of your origin, you want to stay in the capital, nobody is going to force you to do so because of your country. But those who choose to go back to their places of origin, they will go, but provided that you also provide for them. But they have come to know that most of the national cake is being eaten in town. They want to participate. Mushkila? Aye. When I go to Hamshi held up talk enough. Hamshi enough, we held up talk, we loyakir. She have got food. I just had a food bipsy. It was sell the bipsy, you know. When the man was sell the bipsy, you know. Why does he go? Let him enjoy with where the rest are. So it means you must plan for them to go back. Decrees, ruling by decrees, writing decrees is not the one wrong. If you base it on the law, you base it on the organic constitution, that's the way government does. The American code, they call it executive order. In our place, we call it decree. So it's not just the decree it is. Is it lawful, is it legal? The last decree will have a lot of repercussions. That's how they will debate. I only hope they will avoid fighting over it. And as I said before, how do I explain it to Shulu? They have a state without the eastern part of Upper Nile. When since then Israel, I know Malacca, Shulugland. The left, Shulugland. Not there, Shulugland. I know that the border between the Shulug is Banglai River. How do I go and explain? Difficult. You have to persuade them, or else they will repeat what they did. في 2009 منو بركز كتاب جاب شكله وما لازم. Well, I'm told my time is over. We'll see you again. Thank you very much.
All right, let's give a hand to the chairman. All right, thank you so much, Chairman. We are out of time for sure, really, and I in particular am very sorry. I did mention before that we're going to take some of QA, but we are out of time. And so what I would say is that please, I will be compiling your questions, and if you can give me your questions, I compile them all together, and then I will forward it to our national coordinator. Those questions will be answered, and I will give it back to you. Make sure that you put your email also as well against your questions, okay, and your name. That's the way we're going to go that way. And thank you so much. Just a few recognition here. We would like to recognize the head of South Sudan Civil Society. That is Alfred Ajan. Okay, Alfred Ajan. All right, we have the political activist in South Sudan, and that is Atem Kwajok. And we do have Sandra Bonamalwal, who is the chairperson for Social Affairs, Youth, and Women and Children. Yes. And then finally, there is a message I think I would like to give to Ms. Bonamalwal. It's right here. You wanted to say something before to the ladies, to the women. Do you have a message for them?
Yeah, just for a meeting, but the chairman's time is
okay. Okay. All right, great. And so,
say it loud. They are going to have a meeting with her.
Yeah.
She's responsible
behind
for women.
Let me just pass the message.
Gender.
thank